Welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Makbool with you at PTV World. In today's show, we will be taking a look at Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's visit to the SCO Summit and, of course, the heads of councils meeting which took place on the SCO Summit as well, and the important meetings that were held on the sidelines, the most important of which that has made the highlights, of course, is with Vladimir Putin, the Russian president. And we know that this is something that has been a cause of much controversy at home and the current political situation of the country, as well, with the ouster of the former prime minister, where relations between Pakistan and Russia became quite the focus in terms of what was then talked about by the PTI leadership with regards to a US-led conspiracy, what was being alleged by their side. Of course, these meetings point out to the fact that Pakistan is, irrespective of the change in government, quite willing to take it forward and wants to be able to engage in friendly ties with Russia and make sure that they have an independent foreign policy, so to speak, which is also evident in the fact that the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also had a positive meeting with the Iranian president. The important discussion regarding the meeting with the Russian president came with regards to the gas pipeline and the possibility of taking this forward, that was put forward by Vladimir Putin, in terms of the infrastructure that already exists and how this can be taken forward in the next step in the dynamics of this relationship. How exactly is that going to happen? Whether or not we're going to be seeing a sustained positive trajectory between Pakistan and Russia, and how we're going to be balancing our foreign policy initiatives and interests with regards to our relationship with the US, is what is going to be our focus in the first segment of the show today. For this and more, I've been joined in the studios by Mr. Khalid Taimur Akram, who's Executive Director, Pakistan Research Center for a Community with Shared Future. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, let me start with you, Mr. Khalid. When we take a look at this particular visit and the significance, we discussed this yesterday as well, of what it means to be part of this body in general, and how the Prime Minister also emphasized on how it represents 40% of the world's interests and how it's an important platform for people to discuss bilateral and regional issues. Of course, the meeting with the Russian president is an important one, but we'll come to that. But in a larger scale, this meeting was also important in terms of highlighting the devastating floods that have been going on in the country, talk about climate change, something that the Prime Minister also tweeted about. But moreover, we want to understand the significance of the time of this meeting and the impact that's going to have on Pakistan's renewed stance when it comes to foreign relations.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me congratulate the government of Uzbekistan and the President of Uzbekistan, His Excellency Shavkat Mirziyoyev, for arranging and hosting such a big conference. And this is the first time after the post-pandemic era that such a high-level meeting is held. This SCO Head of the State and Head of the Government conference is basically an annual event which happens every year, but it has not happened since last 2 years due to the COVID situation. This conference is of lots of significance. One, because of the current standoff between Russia and Ukraine, and secondly, we know that NATO and American forces have gone out of Afghanistan, and the onus in peace in Afghanistan now lies with this region and the regional countries. And in last 1 year, including Pakistan, the regional countries have been playing a very important role in bringing peace to Afghanistan. So in that connection, this head of the states and head of the government meeting was very, very important. And today I was just going through the at the end of the conference, which the declaration of the conference, which was signed by all the member states. It says very clearly, one, that the regional countries, the SCO countries, will work together in the fields of technology, in the fields of culture, in the field of tourism, and they have also agreed to make special economic zones all across the Shanghai Cooperation Organization countries. And also in the city of Termez in Uzbekistan, all the SCO countries have agreed to make an humanitarian city for helping the Afghan population. In addition to that, this meeting has also provided Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to convey Pakistan's point of view. And let me also commend the government and the Prime Minister on because since last 2 days he had a very hectic schedule, and he met with almost every head of the state and head of the government who had come over there, whether it be Vladimir Putin or whether it be President Xi Jinping or the Uzbek president. So he had put across Pakistan's point of view, and also on the sidelines of this declaration, the Uzbek president in his concluding speech had also appealed to all the SCO countries to help Pakistan's flood victims. I think this is quite a major achievement.
Absolutely important considering what is going on in the country right now. Mr. Khalid, considering, of course, what I was going to talk to Mr. Ahmed about is important because there is a lot of conversation. There is, of course, the existence of such platforms, and there is talk with regards to how to take things forward. But we don't see them translate into action. When we talk about how bilateral relationships develop and evolve, how much of an impact will such bodies as the SCO have in terms of our relationships with particular countries in the region?
Yes, I would say this thing that Shanghai Cooperation Organization since last couple of years is becoming very potent. If we just look at the regional conflicts which have been happening in this region, if we get the data of last 5 years, so it is very evident that especially in our region, the minor conflicts and even the major conflicts are not taken to the United Nations, and they are resolved within the region. For example, let me give you an example of Uzbekistan-Tajikistan border dispute. They had a border dispute for almost 25-26 years, and in last few years they had not only resolved the border dispute in their bilateral relationship, but they have opened almost 9 to 10 border entry points in each other countries. Then we have seen in 2020 we had seen the 44-day war between Armenia and Azerbaijan, in which the Azerbaijan liberated their disputed areas, Karabakh area, and we saw mediation by Russia in that. United Nations was nowhere to be seen. Then we saw an incident between India and China, which was again mutually resolved. It is still not resolved, but some mutual solution was agreed between China and India. So Shanghai Cooperation Organization not only provides a multilateral platform, but it also provides an independent platform where the stakeholders can jointly sit together and have the bilateral meetings with each other. As Mr. Patafi rightly said, that in last 2 days, our Prime Minister had met with 11 head of the states. So meeting with 11 head of the states in 2 days, you can't travel to 11 countries in 2 days. So it was, and all the meetings were very, very meaningful. For example, Pakistan and Uzbekistan decided to continue with the regional connectivity platform, the Central South Asia corridor, which is being prepared, in which the major project is the railway line project, 760 kilometer railway line being laid from Tashkent to Mazar-e-Sharif and Afghanistan until Peshawar, which will link all the Central Asian countries with the Arabian Sea. Then our Prime Minister's meeting with the Turkish President, then our Prime Minister's meeting with the Iranians, and of course with the Russian President, in which he had himself offered that using the existing infrastructure of the gas pipeline, which was already there in the Soviet times, using that infrastructure and taking it all along to Pakistan. And especially I would like to mention over here the biggest role of the regional countries since 15th of August 2021, once all of a sudden the American and the NATO forces left, and there was a big vacuum in the Afghan situation, and there was a fear that the terrorism and the terrorist organization may flow out of Afghanistan to the neighboring countries. So at that time, a very responsible role was seen by Pakistan, Tajikistan, Iran and Uzbekistan, where they all got together at one platform, and then they decided to talk to Taliban, then they decided to meet with them, and since last 1 year we have seen that the region is very, very stable. So the regional platforms play a lot of role, and SCO is not a dead horse. SCO is progressing with every day and expanding every day. So I hope that in next couple of years Pakistan will be playing a very major role in that. And by the way, let me tell you also that right now one of the deputy secretary generals of the SCO is from Pakistan.